right back into the charts. We're right with Bitcoin here, all right? So a couple of things to go over on Bitcoin. Number one, over the last week or so, we've been slowly fading. It's been a very slow fade, but what we can see here is that we got very close to my upper resistance line. Now, again, I'm showing the zoomed out because I want you guys to see where these trend lines come from, but in reality, we can zoom in to kind of keep it a little bit simpler and really show you guys at home or wherever you're watching the levels.
Wait a minute, everyone. Welcome to Bitcoin Zella, your platform for daily cryptocurrency analysis and news. Our mission is to keep it simple. Bitcoin Zella offers engaging information that is easy to understand. Our analysts keep their eyes on the latest news to provide valuable insights via email. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Join our community of 10,000 subscribers and experience the new edge with Bitcoin Zella. Subscribe now. Gareth will share his insights on Bitcoin. The heavyweight champion is testing its key support level at around 61,000. Will it hold, or will we see a deeper slide towards 59,000? Bulls are eyeing a breakout above 70,000, while bears are waiting for cracks in the armor. Meanwhile, Ethereum, the agile contender, recently tagged resistance around 33 to 3,400. But there's a twist. A bearish pattern formation is lurking. Which way will it break? Let's join Gareth in this interview about these topics and more.
So right here, we still know that we have our key support right here. We have key resistance right up in this range. And again, these come back from previous pivot points going back off the screen. So watch this level. I believe it's right around 61,000 now. All right, 61K right there. That is your key support on Bitcoin. You want that to hold. If it doesn't hold, you got a level around 59,000, but then nothing until around 53 to 52,000. On the upside, if you're a bull, you got to see this level broken up here. So this level, again, look at how it's sloping up. It's getting closer. In fact, you could actually draw a secondary trend line here through this high, and it's basically coordinated right up in this 70,000 zone up there. So this is your resistance level. This is your support level. I'm still waiting to see which way it breaks. But ultimately, as a technician of the charts, this keeps me very calm. Like, I know a lot of people are so, on the edge of their seat about what the next move in crypto is going to be, but you just really just let the chart speak to you. You sit back and say, okay, well, I know my support. If it breaks that, yeah, then you get a bigger down move. If it breaks here, honestly, you're probably going to well above all-time highs. All right, so we'll see what those charts do for us in the coming days. Ethereum tagged. It actually had a decent week in rally here. It did tag resistance, and the resistance worked like a charm. I mean, amazing to just watch the charts in action. So again, we have our two lines on Ethereum. One comes right back here to here and right through here, and these lows, right? And that's right what we hit on Saturday, or I should say on Sunday. And then look at how price was rejected right off of that coming back in. Now, again, same thing as Bitcoin. You have your support down here around 2770, 28. I think it's around 2850, give or take. And then we have our resistance right up here around 33 to 3,400. Which way does it break? The only thing that's a little nerve-wracking about Ethereum is that at least in the short term, what type of pattern formation is that? And again, we can even draw something like that. Again, this type of pattern is a bear flag or in spirit of bear flag. And so again, you look for kind of clues about which way it's going to go. Slight negative bias. But again, ultimately the arbiter of truth is going to be which line does it break through and confirm through, right? So again, just something to keep an eye on Ethereum.
Bitcoin may conclude April with a 12% decline, potentially its worst month since the 2022 downturn. Here's a breakdown of the current situation. Bitcoin's price at $62,291 faces resistance, with potential to end April on a low note amidst global economic and geopolitical tensions. Analysts watch if Bitcoin can avoid its worst month of 2024 as it approaches the April close, with $58,000 as a pivotal support level. The upcoming FOMC meeting and interest rate decisions could sway Bitcoin's market sentiment amid global financial volatility. The anticipated Bitcoin ETF in Hong Kong could attract significant investment, influencing Bitcoin's liquidity and price. Bitcoin's key support levels and the behavior of retail investors holding under 100 BTC are under scrutiny.
This is an amazing chart. It's a little bit on the bigger side, but what you can see, and you can go to the Verified Investing website, scroll down, but you could see that in 1918 in the Weimar Republic, right, in Germany, basically one gold Deutschmark was worth one paper Deutschmark, or mark, right? And look at the inflation rate to the point where one gold Deutschmark was then worth ultimately essentially $1 trillion in paper. And that is what we call hyperinflation, folks. And I only say this not to say that we're at that point yet here in the US or any other country, but when you think about the GDP rates that you're seeing, debt to GDP, Japan, I mean, we've talked about the yen collapsing essentially against the US dollar because of what's going on there. They have 250% debt to GDP ratio. Here in the US, we're about 130%. And ultimately, my point is that we need to learn as a world about history, and history ultimately can help us avoid some of these mistakes. Now, many people would argue and say, oh, well, hyperinflation will never happen. I disagree. I think, again, you're getting down a slippery road where you get to a point where ultimately the debt, there's no way to pay it off, right? Essentially, you get to a point where interest rates are so high that the amount of interest payments on that debt are only going to help or make it grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And then how do countries pay off debt? They print their currency. And that's exactly what happened here in Germany after World War I. Here you can see in this picture, amazing picture, by the way, this woman is literally lighting her stove with money. Billions probably in money right here, putting it right into the stove because this money was worth less than buying lumber or wood for the fireplace. So just things like this you want to be aware of, guys, is that, and again, you look at some of the causes that essentially went on in Germany, and essentially they ended up after World War I. They basically funded World War I by printing money, right? So they had a massive amount of debt from World War I, and then the reparations afterwards from World War I, it only added to that debt. And what did the country do? They said, well, listen, there's no way we can pay this off, so let's just print our money and pay it off that way. And ultimately it worked. The country got mostly out of debt that way by basically hyperinflating their currency. But what ended up really going on here is the people suffered, right? People that had a lot of money ended up that money being basically worthless. People were starving and so on and so forth. And so it's just a little bit of a heads up in that respect. The other thing I wanted to show you guys is this chart here, which is a chart I put together this weekend on reverse repo. Now, if we remember, reverse repo is very, very important to understand the flow of money. And I know it sounds very simple, but the flow of money and how much money is in the system really determines if the stock market goes up or down. To explain this, basically I denoted here, and I put it on this, right, is that here was the reverse repo. And to understand reverse repo here, basically when reverse repo goes up, banks are taking money that they have and parking it at the Federal Reserve. So here banks had a lot of money, and all of a sudden they started to funnel it to the Federal Reserve because it was the safest place to store money and they were getting a guaranteed return, right? What better place than at the Federal Reserve to store your money? Basically as guaranteed as it can get. And so as the banks pushed money into the Fed and stored it there, it sucked money out of the system, out of the financial system. And interestingly enough, you can see as the money got sucked out, this is when the stock market topped in 2021, right here. And as they continued to do it, we saw the big correction in 2022. The bear market, the NASDAQ was down like 37%. I think the S&P was down about 25%. Then what you can see is reverse repo topped right here, and literally, basically to the day, the stock market bottomed in October of 2022. So as soon as the banks stopped pushing money and storing it at the Federal Reserve, essentially taking it out of the monetary system, that's when the stock market topped. And then look at this. This was the bottom on the market, the stock market. And then what happens to that money? Well, the Fed eventually has to give that money back to the banks. And as the Fed is giving that money back to the banks, it's flooding the system with so much liquidity. And you can see here, and what do we know about the stock market? From October of 2022 to where we currently are, we basically ripped up, took out the previous 2021 all-time highs, and ripped up and made new all-time highs. And we're essentially right around those all-time highs. Notice reverse repo, though, is starting to level out. And this, to me, is another indicator that if listen, it's not going back up, which would be sucking money out of the system, but you're kind of getting to a plateau area here where you may stop seeing at least additional money from the banks coming from the Fed going into the banks that then gets lent out into the monetary system.
El Salvador is a tropical haven for crypto enthusiasts, having adopted Bitcoin as legal tender. Here's a guide to relocating to this beachside paradise. El Salvador's welcoming policies make moving simple. Convert your funds to Bitcoin. Have $12 in a Lightning Network wallet for a tourist visa, and you're set to start your new life. Start with a 6-month tourist visa. Then, apply for temporary residency to enjoy El Salvador while you settle in. Extend your visa for 2 years, aim for permanent residency after 3 years, and consider citizenship after 5 years. Despite challenges from the IMF seeking changes to Bitcoin laws, El Salvador continues to invest in cryptocurrency, promoting financial freedom and innovation. El Salvador invites those who dream of a crypto-integrated lifestyle to its shores, offering a pioneering spirit amidst financial evolution. If you've been with us so far, a big thank you. Don't forget to subscribe for free to Bitcoin Zella for your daily news. The link is waiting below. That's all for today's crypto news. Stick around for more updates, insights, and analysis on cryptocurrencies. Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more exciting content.